Behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered, nor come into mind. But be ye glad and rejoice forever in that which I create. For behold, I create Jerusalem a rejoicing, and her people a joy. And I will rejoice in Jerusalem, and joy in my people. And the voice of weeping shall be no more heard in her, nor the voice of crying.
Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Makakwadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples for his younger brothers. And peace and blessings and salutation to the hopeful that got there pushing his word in truth and in sincerity across the four winds. In the name of Yahweh Bashem Al Shai, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful and the believers, the listeners whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Al Shai. Alright, and what I want to get into today, is dealing with there's no middle ground. Okay, when you go into the scriptures, alright, there's no middle ground or compromise when it comes to the scriptures. Okay, Yahweh Bashem Al Shai, deals with a standard and an expectation. Okay, and we live in a society, full of gray areas, full of confusion, full of partial truths. But no, the Lord is only dealing with a standard. And that standard is according to the scriptures. You see, and you have two opposing viewpoints, and there's the scriptures and the ways of this world, this age, this society, this beast system under Esau. Okay, so you have two viewpoints, okay, that's polar opposite of each other. Okay, and what we see happening, with the elect, all right, being raised up, beginning with the prophets, okay, and the elites of Esau, Edom, well, there's a clash because there's two different ideologies, okay, and only one, okay, ideology can run the earth, okay, only one doctrine, okay, and it's going to be the doctrine of truth under Yahweh Shai, okay, so when Yahweh Shai comes, he's going to erase, okay, the wicked, all right, and the middle ground, that's part of the wicked as well, if you want to take this stance, all right, you agree with some of what we say, but then you agree with, some of America and this system, okay, you think you taking the middle ground, okay, well, you're going to get caught up in this destruction as well. That's the spirit of lukewarm. Okay, you're lukewarm. You can be lukewarm, as a teacher, in the truth. And you can be lukewarm in your belief. You can believe parts of, you agree with parts of the truth, but then you still take hold to certain parts of this world. Well, you're in the middle ground, which makes you the wicked. See, the Lord gonna make you choose a side. Okay, that's why the hour of temptation, all right, the sea hill being mandated throughout the earth, that's gonna make you choose a side. That's gonna make everyone choose a side, man. Okay, now when you go to the term middle ground, it refers to a position, opinion, or course of action that is halfway between two opposing extremes. Okay, and the opposing extremes, okay, is the doctrine of Esau, Edom, this beast system. Okay, their philosophy, their way. Okay, and the doctrine of Yahweh Bashem Al Shai. Those are the two opposing extremes, man. All right, offering a compromise acceptable to different parties. Okay, and Yahweh Shai is not compromising. Yahweh Bashem Al Shai is not compromising with wickedness, man. Okay, the Lord doesn't deal with a middle ground when it comes to wickedness, man. Okay, either it's right or it's not, and that's why you get to the scriptures. Okay, the scriptures deal with the duality. Okay, matter of fact, before we get that, let's get this in Sirach 33 and get to the point. In verse 13, it says, as the clay is in the hand, is in the potter's hand to fashion it at his pleasure, so man is in the hand of them that made him, to render to them as liketh him best. Okay, so the Heavenly Father fashioned, everybody. Okay, even the wicked Esau, Edom. And Esau was fashioned to be the total opposite to righteousness, man. Okay, and there's no compromise with that. You see, Jacob was created to be the righteous, which at this time you have a remnant that's returning back to that. And our righteousness is of Yahweh Shai, because it's not that we have the ability to be perfect in the law, okay, but our faith in Yahweh Shai, okay, and what he's done and what he's coming back to do, that's what makes us righteous, man. All right, that's what makes us justified. You see, along with what, the works, all right, of the ministry, man, and that's all through faith. Okay, said man shall be saved by his faith and his works. Okay, and it says, so man is in the hand of him that made him to render to them as he liketh best. And the Lord set up, okay, these characters and these opposing, okay, doctrines, all right, for his purpose. You see, it says good is set against evil and life against death. So is the godly against the sinner and the sinner against the godly. And this is what we see playing out. This is a rivalry that's in the earth. Okay, good and evil. Okay, there's no middle ground. Either it's good or it's evil. You see, and it says, verse 15, so look upon all the works of the Most High, and there are 2 and 2, one against another, man. And one of those, all right, 2 and 2 is good and evil. Okay, opposing forces, man. All right, and what we're seeing is Heavenly Father is getting ready to send Yahweh Shai back, all right, to deal, okay, with wickedness, man. Yahweh Shai is another thing. Yahweh Shai is coming to bring clarity to the earth. Okay, because under this devil is a bunch of confusion. People are confused, But now under Yahweh Shai is coming to bring clarity to the earth, man. All right, and he's gonna erase that middle ground. So let's go here, because the scriptures don't deal with that. You go to the book of Proverbs 28 and 4. And I'm gonna read this in the NLT. It says, to reject the law is to praise the wicked. Because why? The law is righteous. Like I said, we can't keep the law perfectly, but we fully agree with the whole law. And we can't wait till we're changed and the law is in us. Okay, and we can perform that law perfectly forever. Okay, but our people, in this world is infuriated with the concept of the law, even just the light things, a woman being under a man. Okay, alphabet, the law is anti-alphabet. You see, idolatry. Okay, covetousness. So here it is, just the simple concepts of the law. This world is offended at. All right, and it said to reject the law is to praise the wicked. Ain't no middle ground. If you reject, all right, the concept of the law, which is righteousness, okay, you praise the wicked. You see, to obey the law is to fight them. So to obey, to have a mindset to obey the law, which we keep the law to the best of our ability. The portion of the law that we can keep in this captivity, we keep to the best of our ability. And by default, that makes us, all right, in opposition. That puts us in opposition to this world. Okay? Because this world is anti-righteous, man. This age under Esau. Okay? So that's why our obedience is a threat to the devil. Our teaching of righteousness is a threat to the devil. Because it opposes everything that this kingdom stands for. You see? And that's why even here, let's get this in Isaiah 59 and 15. It's the book of Isaiah chapter 59 and verse 15. It said, yeah, truth faileth. Okay? And he that departed from evil, making himself a prey. You see that? So even when you depart from evil in this society, you make yourself a prey, a target. You know? I know you brothers and sisters, you know, have become, you know, black sheep of the family. You know, the black sheep, you know, at work. You know, people try to plot and scheme on you, you know. You see? You targeted, you know, like you singled out. It's like, damn. You see, but this is a society that preys on righteousness, man. You know? So when you depart from wickedness, well, by default, you become a target, all right, for the wicked. You see? Because there's no middle ground. Okay? It says, and the Lord saw it, and it displeased him that there was no judgment, man. So the Lord displeased that there's no true judgment going forth. That the righteous are targeted. Okay, in this society, that righteousness has to tiptoe around the earth. Okay, the Lord he's not pleased with that. Okay, and he's going to show that when he sends back Yahweh Shai. He's going to show his displeasure in that. Yahweh Shai is coming to set up righteousness in the earth, man. You see? Let's go from there. Let's get this, because even Yahweh Shai, what did he say? Matthew chapter 5. All right. Matthew chapter 5. All right. But let your communication be yea, yea, nay, nay. For whatsoever is more than these cometh of evil. Okay? So Yahweh Shai, you know, and this also a precept for, you know, us to be direct. You know, especially amongst the body. You know, amongst the body, we should be direct. Okay? Mean what we say what we mean. You see? But that shows you that what Yahweh Shai not dealing with a middle ground, even the English language, you know, words like sort of, phrases like sort of, maybe, kind of, almost, you know, because there's certain words in the English that's not in the Hebrew, because it can cause confusion. Okay, it causes a middle ground. Okay, so when you go into Yahweh Shai, like, look, yea, yea, and nay, nay, because whatsoever more. All right. For whatsoever is more than these cometh evil, man. You create great areas that's just a haven for wickedness and manipulation. And you deal with great areas, man, that's wicked. You see, and this is a society where everyone, you know, is trying to be manipulative. They deal with great areas, man. They say things and mean something, you know, they say things and mean something different, man. You know, so great areas, you know, comes with wickedness, man. You see? But there's no middle ground, as you can see. All right? Even when you go back to Proverbs. Okay? There's a rivalry between good and evil, man. All right? Because true goodness is to hate evil. All right? And the evil hates goodness. All right? Proverbs 29:27 says, an unjust man is an abomination to the just, and he that is upright in the way is abomination to the wicked. You see? So the two, all right, have opposing, okay, viewpoints. You see? Which clash. There's no way that you can stand for righteousness and compromise with anything that this devil got going on. Okay? You know, we're behind enemy lines, so we, you know, have to deal with subtlety. Okay? But inwardly, we don't agree with anything that this nigga got going on. Okay? And we damn sure not compromising. All right? Verse 27, Proverbs 29:27 NLT. The righteous despise the unjust. The wicked despise the godly. Okay? Plain to the point. Okay? And I say there's no way that we can stand for righteousness and compromise with anything that the devil got going. Okay? And to the wicked, righteousness, it condemns them. That's why they don't like to be around it. That's why people begin to separate from us as we change into these new creatures, because our presence begins to condemn them. You see? So going back, let's go from there. Because even y'all was shy. Let's get this. I'll move this in Luke, maybe. This is Matthew 6:24. It says, no man can serve two masters. Okay? You can't be a servant, okay, to two masters. All right? Because you can only have allegiance to one. Okay? Because if you serve two masters, there can be a conflict of interest. Okay? It says, no man can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve, all right, the Most High Mammon, okay, which is of this world, man. There's no way you can be a servant, a true servant for Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, okay, and a servant for this world. Okay, we use this world, okay, as a balance. We use this world, but not abuse it. Because when you abuse it, you're making yourself a servant to this world. Okay? There's a conflict of interest, because this world is vanity, man. And then we're slaves in this world. Okay? So the things that we do, the only thing that you can do in this society is make an Edomite rich with your labor. You know? No matter how much you chase the bag, you're enriching this devil. Okay, no matter if you're an entrepreneur, okay, you're enriching this devil. Okay, so we use this where we do what we got to do. You know, every brother, you know, every believer situation is different. Okay, but it's a mindset. All right, because these people that chase this bag and all about, you know, to come up in this life, they're servants of this world. That's why those type of people despise the truth, because the truth, all right, is like a hindrance. All right, men that have fell out of the truth because the truth was a hindrance for they wanted to serve, all right, themselves in this world. Okay, so the truth becomes offensive. They begin to despise this word because, you know, they looked at the word as interfering with them serving, okay, their master in this world. Because if you're serving the flesh, you're serving your master Esau. This system is set up for you to serve your flesh, which by default you're serving him. You know, to where everything you do is about some type of upgrade in the flesh. Okay, so you can't serve the two. There's a conflict, man. Okay. And Yahushua, I said, when he returns, he's not dealing with the middle ground. He's destroying all that, man. You know? So when you go here, let's get this in the book of Isaiah, chapter 8. This is Isaiah 8:11. It says, for the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, spake thus to me with a strong hand, and instructed me that I should not walk in the way of this people, saying ye not a confederacy to all them to whom this people say a confederacy, neither, all right, fear you they fear, nor be afraid. Okay? So we're not to make a confederacy with wickedness, man. Okay? And our people have made a confederacy or an agreement. All right, and when you look in this word, confederacy, all right, which in the Hebrew, quashar, it says conspiracy, alliance, treason. treason. Okay, so to side with the wicked as an Israelite, that's considered treason, man. You see, and that's a offense punishable by what? Death. Okay. Let me see. I believe it's not Psalm. You know, it's a treasonous act. You know, it's the ultimate betrayal. That's why you take that sea hip. You know, that's the ultimate betrayal. Okay, to Yahweh Bashim Al Shai. You see, there's you completely siding, okay, with the wicked. You know, and you're going to be treated as such when he returns. Psalms 94:20 says, shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by law? Okay? Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by law? Okay? So, the throne of iniquity can't have fellowship with us, man. Which frameth mischief by law? No. Okay? Yahushua is coming to set up a throne in righteousness, man. There ain't gonna be no compromise or gray area. See, America, you know, Esau, Edom has gotten all these nations of the earth, you know, to compromise. Okay? And you have, you know, nations that, you know, resist this devil, but then they agree with certain points, you know, that the devil got going on. That's a middle ground. Okay? And that's why all these nations go into captivity, man. Okay, and middle ground gonna get you in captivity too, you heathens. Okay, so let's go here to Jeremiah. We end it here. Jeremiah chapter 23. In verse 5 it says, behold, the days coming, said the Lord Yahweh Bashim Al Shai, that I will raise unto David a righteous branch. You see that? And a king shall reign and prosper and shall execute judgment and justice in the earth, man. Okay? And it says in ENT, he will do what is just and right throughout the land. Okay? So Yahweh Shai is coming to bring justice and righteousness to the earth, man. All right, Yahushua will never compromise with wickedness. This is what this whole captivity for us was, for us to see. You can't compromise with wickedness, man. Okay, it has to be constantly kept in check and rooted out, man. Okay, so that's the point, Lord will you, brother, and you sister, edified. Till next time I say shalom.